Science with Folly.
Tēnā koutou. Welcome to Science with Folly. Now, if you're wondering why I just bit the head off a snake, it's because I hate those slimy little creatures. No, actually, it's because today we are learning about meiosis as a cause of variation. If you're wondering what that's got to do with a snake, stay tuned. Before we go any further, you'll need to recall what is variation. And as far as we're concerned in this video, variation is to do with the differences within members of the same species. Just like you're different from your mum, you're different from your dad, you're different from that person over there, etc., etc., but you're all the same species. And we also need to remember what meiosis is. And as you should recall, meiosis is a type of cell division that produces gametes. And gametes are sex cells, sperms, eggs, sperms and eggs. So how does meiosis cause variation? Let's find out. Now, the first way that meiosis causes variation is through a process called independent assortment. What this means is basically that the chromosomes, when they line up prior to cell division, they line up randomly. And as you know, in one of your body cells, you've got 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. In this cell, we've got 2 pairs of chromosomes. Half come from the mother, half from the father. And when they line up, they can line up randomly. Like that, like that, like that. There are a number of different possible combinations. And obviously, the more chromosomes there are, the more combinations there are too. The second way that meiosis causes variation is through a process called crossing over. What happens is that the chromosomes intertwine and they swap parts. And this creates recombinant chromosomes with different combinations of genes. And there we go, I've got my recombined chromosomes. The third way that meiosis creates variation is through segregation. And this is when the chromosomes separate and form gametes. Because remember, a gamete only has half the number of chromosomes, which means it's only going to get one of each homologous pair. And finally, fertilization. Even though this isn't part of the meiosis process, it's when the gametes come back together, and because the gametes are haploid, they now form diploid cells with full sets of chromosomes, bringing together the genetic information from each parent, creating a completely new organism with different gene combinations. So just to recap, the 4 main ways that meiosis causes variation: independent assortment, crossing over, segregation, and fertilization. And just a tip, when you're looking at dihybrid crosses, sometimes you don't get the ratio that you'd expect. And this is often to do with something called linked genes. This is when the genes are close together on the chromosome so that they are less likely to be affected by crossing over. So just a tip there for your exams. Thanks for watching Science with Folly. Ka kite anō.
Science with Folly. Science with Folly. Science with Folly.